What is up, guys? Brandon from Gamer Gab here, and today we are going to be going over Google Stadia and whether or not it can really compete with the modern consoles. Google Stadia is a cloud gaming service developed by Google, and it allows players to stream games effortlessly on nearby devices. It is set to launch later this year and works by sending controller inputs while playing games to Google servers, where it's processed and sent back to your screen. Now, for specs, there are a lot of specs required to use this. It kind of is like PC gaming, where a lot of games require certain specs. If you want 4K and 60 frames per second, you're gonna need a download speed of about 35 megabytes per second, and you need a minimum of 15 megabytes per second to play pretty much any game in lower qualities, and you need a 40 millisecond latency maximum. So for a little bit of reference, my iPod has a download speed of 2 megabytes per second, so I would be able to do pretty much nothing with Google Stadia on my iPod. But my laptop has a speed of 29 megabytes per second, and I don't have a very powerful laptop. I have Intel Core i5 processor, so if you have pretty basic specs like mine, you should be able to play these games. I believe mine was good for 1080p 60 frames, so if that's what you're going for, you really don't need anything crazy. It will support PC, laptop, Pixels, as in Google Pixels, and tablets, so you'll be able to play this on pretty much anything, and it'll also be compatible with other phones later on. The only things you need besides the specs for your computer are stable internet, a controller, and a recent version of Chrome, so this doesn't require too much. This should be easier to get together than maybe a gaming PC. However, the convenient thing with consoles is you buy it and you have everything, which isn't entirely the case with this, but if you already have a modern laptop, you're pretty much going to be good. It also requires an 8GB RAM and is compatible with Windows 10, 8, and 7.1. Some games require or recommend 16GB RAM for 4K 30 frames, which is kind of a lot. I don't even know if my laptop is 8GB RAM. It might be 4. So you do need pretty good RAM for your laptop or computer if you're going to play games on it, which is kind of unfortunate because a lot of budget laptops might not meet the RAM specifications. They also said that online games may need stronger specs. Overall, I think that it just seems easier to use a home console because you buy it and everything you have is there. You don't have to worry about the specs because it's already made to work with everything, and the games have to be made to be compatible with the console before you get it. Whereas with Chrome, you have to have the right computer for it, and a lot of people might not have it. A lot of people might not have a modern phone or tablet. So you really do have to look a little bit more into having what you need. The only thing you really need when you get a PlayStation or a Switch is a TV and electricity, which pretty much everybody has. So it's really not a problem for people to get those consoles, whereas with Chrome, you might have to go through a little bit more to be able to play it. In terms of expenses, this is actually a pretty affordable package. There is a Founders Edition for people who pre-order before it comes out, which is supposed to be in November, and it's $130. It comes with a Chromecast, which can be used to stream on TVs and I think other devices, which is a value of $60. You also get a Night Blue Stadia controller, which has a value of $70 and is exclusive to the Founders Edition. I'll go over the controller specs in a bit, but we're going to focus on the prices more. You also get 3 months of Stadia Pro for you and a friend, and you also get other features that aren't as important, so I'm not going to go over them. It's stuff like getting to choose what your name is early, nothing significant. After your 3 months of Stadia Pro runs out, you only have to pay $10 a month for it, and the Stadia Pro gives you access to the cloud and 4K support. If you don't want this, you can just purchase games individually, but that doesn't make sense to me because you figure $10 a month times 12 12 is $120 a year, which is the price of 2 full-priced games. So I think you're really saving a ton of money on this deal if you pay $10 a month. So I think that that is a really good way to save money, because I've bought 2 games and we're halfway through the year, and I'm gonna buy more as the year goes on. If I had Stadia, I wouldn't even have to buy all the games. I would just pay the $10 a month fee, and I would be getting the games that I want without having to spend extra money. Granted, some of the games I bought are Switch games, which aren't on Stadia yet. I don't really think they will go on Stadia. If anything, I think Nintendo would push their own cloud service. They already kind of have their own with the NES Online library, which is okay. I mean, I, like many other people, want them to make the same service for more retro consoles, at least the SNES, and I think maybe the Game Boy should also be that way, but I think that if they went beyond that, it'd probably be too far. So back to Stadia, I think that it's a very good deal. Like I said, it's much cheaper than other consoles, PlayStation 4 and Xbox One were, I think, $400 and $500 respectively when they launched. The Switch was $300 at launch and still is $300. Looking at this is a really good deal, especially because you don't have to use the Night Blue controller. You could use whatever controller you want, and maybe you already have a Chromecast, then it's just, I think, $10 a month. Now, going on to the controller, it's a little unique from other controllers, but not completely. The button layout is a little different, but for the most part, it kind of just copies that of the PlayStation 4. They designed it to be a mix between the PlayStation and Xbox controllers. It's about the same price as the Nintendo Switch Pro controller. The PS4 controller, I think, looks better and more modern, especially with the touchpad and the light bar. It just has a more modern feel to this day for me, especially the Pro controller. You don't need the controller to play. It has an assist button where you could press it and then you can, look up ways to beat whatever you're stuck on, and it'll give you YouTube tutorials and such, which I would say is pretty useful, but it's 2019. It's not that hard to just, grab your phone, or if you have a computer nearby, just look it up and watch it. So it's cool, but not really necessary. It also has a record button, which the Switch and the PlayStation also have, even though the Switch's record button only lets you record for like 30 seconds. It has an aux cable on the bottom. You use the Stadia button to connect to whatever device you're playing on. It uses Wi-Fi instead of Bluetooth for connection. It's largely a plastic build, but I've heard that it's still pretty sturdy and feels well when you're holding it. None of its features are really game changers. When I first heard that it had the assist button, I was like, whoa, that's gonna change a lot. But looking back, all you have to do is just look it up on YouTube. I remember when I would get stuck on Mario Odyssey while I was 100%ing it, I would just, look up the moon that I had to get, because there were guides on IGN and Polygon, so you didn't really have to have an assist button. Maybe it'll be more convenient because you won't have to go through the search, but it's not that big of a burden to just take the time to go on Safari or Chrome and look it up. It's gonna have a decent library at launch. A lot of Ubisoft games, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, The Division 2, Just Dance are all gonna be on there. For some new releases, they'll have the next 2K, Borderlands 3 will be on there, Doom Eternal, and I think Wolfenstein Young Blood will be on there. So it's gonna have a good library at launch. There's way more games than what I announced. Those are just the main ones that I saw. Google will also be designing games for the Stadia. Again, there will be even more titles to play. They'll have their own exclusives, which is going to make it more intriguing to get, because one of the main selling points for the Nintendo Switch is all of its exclusives. And to some degree, that's a selling point for PlayStation 2 because they have a great exclusive library. Although a key difference is that you can kind of anticipate what the exclusives are going to be on the Switch, because, a Mario game will come out, a Zelda game is going to come out. We're still waiting on Pikmin 4. A new Animal Crossing game's coming out next year. So the exclusives you're going to get with that. We don't know at all what the exclusives will be with Google Stadia. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what they'll say with that. It already has better third-party support than the Switch, which is kind of sad because the Switch is 3 years old. I think that Stadia might be more powerful though, so that could be an explanation for that. Doesn't have any exclusives yet, but that will happen in the future, so that's not really a concern. Overall, I don't think that the games library will be a problem. There are some issues with Google Stadia, such as reports of it having a low frame rate at times and also having compression issues. So these performance issues can really be game changers because, like I said, if you're playing on PlayStation, the games were made to work on PlayStation and Xbox, so you don't have to worry about frame rate and compression as much because they should already work fine on your system. This might also apply to story games, so you would just be playing without even requiring internet for the game normally, but because it does and it's a high quality game that takes a little bit more power to run, you might have frame and compression issues. That'll definitely be a problem for Stadia. Google Stadia is easily accessible and much cheaper than alternatives. The games library is pretty strong and will only grow in the future, and they are already part of the future because cloud gaming is the future of the gaming industry, and they're now ahead of the game. However, I think that when PlayStation and Xbox create their cloud services, it might overshadow Stadia a bit. They're both probably going to come out with very powerful consoles where we won't have to worry about how it works, and we are already able to trust these companies because they've been making gaming consoles for years now. So I really think that that will be a problem. I think that Stadia can compete overall, but I don't know if it'll be the top dog anytime soon. But that's pretty much going to do it for this one, guys. If you enjoyed, leave a like down below. If you want to see more, subscribe. And until next time, peace from Gamer Gab.